All right, this lecture demonstration is to go along with Practice H1 from my web design curriculum, and that is creating this Disney file. So in your data files, there's a Disney folder, and for those of you who are struggling a little bit with content, I wanted to provide you some guided instruction here. There is a text file that has the content in it, for the most part, and then what you're going to do is add in all the coding that goes with it. So in the example, we have a header banner at the top of the page, a couple of level 2 headings, a couple paragraphs, a list, a footer, and it's all within a big box. So let me just kind of break this down for you. So first off, let's change the language to HTML. And let's go ahead and put in our required tags, which is the first thing you should always do. Now I have mine set to auto close, so these are going to be kind of messed up and I'll have to move them. But we always start with our doc type. That doc type declaration tells it what version of HTML that it's using, so validators can validate the site. Then our HTML tag, our head tag, which holds the title. This also holds the meta tags, if you have any meta tags. And if you have anything else, that would go in here too. For example, if you add a style to the top of this, you could do that as well. So in the example, I give you the tabs. You can see that it says like Mickey Mouse Disney web page as the title. So that's this text here. So I can just highlight that and put it and drag it up in there. That takes care of all of that. Then we have our body, which we're starting up. And then we've got our closing tags, which just need to be moved to the bottom of the page. So always put in your main structure tags first. Now this should have just been super easy right off the bat, no problems for you. Then, of course, you're going to want to save this back into the Disney folder. It says to call it main.html, so following those instructions, you should do that. Now, if we take a look at the folders, we'll see where everything is. So there's already a page in here called Mini. There's main. There's the text file we started. This is just a hyperlink to where I got the clip art to give them credit. Here's the images folder. So we have a heading banner and a couple of pictures. And here's a hello folder, and inside the hello folder is a page called hello with a couple of pictures in it too. So the page that we're actually creating is simply this main page, but we're going to be hyperlinking to some other places later on. So next you would go through the process of getting this divided into its sections, and then of course adding your colors and so forth. So we're going to have a header section at the top that's going to hold the heading banner. Whatever you want to call the middle, which I usually just call it plain old section, unless, I tell you to call it something else. And then we're going to have a footer. Now the section ends here. We can tell on the example that the footer has some shading to it, so you can tell specifically that this information is in the footer section. So we have that all divided. But if you also look, you've got your main page in the middle, and there's like a black background. That tells us that there is some big div holding the whole page. So I'm going to go ahead and create that div box. Now with a div that's holding the whole page, you can name it whatever you want. There's not a right or wrong, other than you can't use the name of something that's already an element on a page. So I'm going to go ahead then and just name this box. So ID equals box. And then I've got my div in there. So the first thing first, let's just kind of look at the page. The background is black. So I'm going to style the background to be black background color. And you could use a hex code, or you could type in the word as shown. Now I'm not going to change the color of the font or anything, because if you actually look at your page, the font color does stay black all the way through. It's just it's all in a box, and this box is a white box. So I'm going to style this box to be a white box. So background color white for the box. Also, we can tell that the box doesn't go all the way across the page. So we need to style that box to have a width. I don't tell you specifically what the width is, so you just kind of have to guess. And we want to center it. To center a div, it's margin. And automatically sets the left and right. And so I will go ahead and save, and then we'll just see what we've got so far. All right, that's my page. So far we're doing okay. We've got our black background and we've got everything in a white box. So that is correct. Now we have no formatting anywhere. We also have some issues with some encoding that's a problem. So you can see these funny little things here. What happened is when this was pasted from the internet, it didn't understand that, and so it generated these weird question mark codes. So those just need to be replaced in the code. It looks like we need to look for all of the these funny looking quotation marks, or apostrophes, and we would just replace those. It's the funny little slashy ones, and sometimes when you paste those in from the internet, they do mess up like that. So that's just something to watch out for. All right, the header at the top is going to be the image, so we've got to figure out where that image is. It's in the images folder, and it's called mickeyheading.jpg. So up in the header, I'm going to put my image tag, which is an IMG. It's an empty tag, so it has a slash at the end. We need the source of the image, and we always need to include a text alternative and a title. The title's the pop-up words. And the text alternative is for disability purposes, if we had our images disabled and so forth. It can be the same words, that's fine. And then here would be the pathway to get to the image to display it. Now that pathway includes the images folder. So I'm going to put images slash and then mickeyheading.jpg. And of course, if you don't have the right file format, this isn't going to work. I'm going to click here. And there we go. So we've got that in there. It's not quite fitting. So when I scale down, it doesn't fit. And then whenever I go here, it doesn't fit. We can set our image to have a style. And you can set that width to 100% and it will stretch it. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And there we go. And now it fits in the box regardless of when we stretch it. Okay. So that's the start there. I'm going to go ahead and add in the footer, and that at least gets you started here. So the footer has a couple of paragraphs in it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on that first paragraph. That paragraph is centered. So we'll text align center, or you could have text align centered the entire footer if you wanted. There it is. And that's one paragraph there by itself. And then an additional paragraph here. And notice that these do not have a gap between them, so we're going to have a line break there. And there we go. And then finally, the footer has a color, and that color is FCC, and it says so in the instructions. So that would be background color, hashtag FCC, and there we go. All right, so now when we preview this one, I'll note that in Internet Explorer, good old Internet Edge or whatever, they do not recognize the HTML5 elements. So you're not going to see that shading happen in those named semantic elements. So semantic elements are like footer, section, header. If we would have made it a div, Internet Explorer can handle divs, but for whatever reason it doesn't understand the HTML5 elements. So this won't work in Internet Explorer. It will work if I open up in Chrome. And so that's just the way that goes. And there is a thing called the I forget the name of it right now, a shim or something, an HTML shiv, and you can use it, and that will make it so that it will support any kind of other browser that doesn't support the HTML5 elements. So it's like right here, you would put in this extra little thing in here, which is some code that would allow you then to generate this script, and then that's supposed to make it, we'll cross our fingers here, work. Doesn't seem to be working right now. It's looking for the shiv. See, it's loading, so it's like trying to load this little thing here. And who knows, that could be blocked here at school. But oh, I see what it is. It's not out on the internet. There is one that's on the internet that will actually go to it. I don't have this in my folder. But you could put this in your folder, and then this HTML shiv would activate and it would work. And there is a code in your book back on page, it was back a little ways, page 58, and it actually has one that you can type in there. So if you want to make sure that it does work, you can by all means go in there and pop this in here, and it's a longer one. I'm not going to take the time right now to type it, but if you put that in there, then that would make it work in HTML5. Again, that's on page 58 of your book. So, enough chanting and running around here. You would continue coding this once you have this done. And again, if it's not working in Internet Explorer or Edge, that is the problem. It doesn't understand those semantic elements. So from here, you would continue on coding. You'd add your headings, you'd add your paragraph tags, your list, and then do the additional parts. But hopefully this at least helps you get started. So good luck.